Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. And I'm recording this from Mexico, actually. You might hear some waves in the background or some little birdies. Why not, right? Let's give it a shot and see how it goes. So, my mom and my sisters and I have an annual get together in Mexico. And it's just such a beautiful opportunity to get together, spend time together. It's just the four of us, and we have long dinners, and it's just so lovely. And I just encourage you, if you have people in your life that you love and you don't get to see very often because you're on different coasts or different parts of the country, make an annual ritual. It doesn't have to be fancy or expensive, just a weekend together or 4 or 5 days together if you're traveling south, going to a beautiful tropical place that you want to stay a little longer at. But the point is having intentional time together and making an appointment, something you do at least annually, is so special and so important. You know, if you're at a reunion or if you're at a wedding or funeral, you don't really get to talk. You don't get to have meaningful conversations, get to know each other, update each other on your lives and what's important to you. So I just encourage you to do this. We've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years. My mom's 88, and it's just precious, so precious. So, on with the topic of busy and really the disease of busy, which emotional eaters have in spades. Now, if you don't know if you're an emotional eater, take the quiz on my website at healyourhunger.com. Take the quiz. It'll take about 3 minutes, but you'll get a personalized score to find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict. And that score will help you know next steps to take in overcoming this problem. And guess what? You can overcome this problem. Like that's what Heal Your Hunger is about, is overcoming emotional eating and food addiction. But find out what you are by taking that quiz at healyourhunger.com. So I want to jump into this topic because emotional eaters slash food addicts, okay, wherever you are on that spectrum, we are people who love to stay busy. We just love busy to the point of it hurting us, okay? So this is a liability for emotional eaters, and I believe it's one of the main reasons why we don't heal. If you've been struggling with food and weight for any length of time, I promise you, if you don't address the busy in your life, which translates to lack of self care, right? We're so busy, we don't have time for ourselves, time to relax and rest and restore. If you don't take that time for yourself and you just keep your schedule packed, chances are you're not gonna be able to lose weight and keep it off. And the keeping it off is the hard part, right? I mean, losing weight's one thing, but a whole nother thing is sustaining it. And if you don't address the busy, you will put the weight back on. Look at the record, right? If your diet, whatever that is, diet's just a word for how you eat. If your diet doesn't include changing the way you live, chances are you're not going to be able to sustain whatever weight you lose. So I want to address this because it really is like a disease. Like it's like almost like it overcomes us and we're powerless to stop it. And I see this in my clients time and time again. And it's a big part of the work I do with people is helping them address their busy, because that busy is keeping you stressed out and overwhelmed. Do you feel stressed out and overwhelmed? You know, so much of our eating is stress eating, you know, and the stress comes from the way we're living our lives. Do you hear those birds? Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Anyway, so society praises our busy, and that's why it's hard to take a look at it because we get kudos for how busy we are. Do you hear people say, "Oh, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you fit it all in." Don't you just love hearing that? Like we get praise for being busy. We get praise for doing, you know, so much and doing circles around other people. You know, maybe growing up, you were the good girl, you were the helper, you're rewarded for doing more. My experience is that as emotional eaters, there's another reason why we stay busy. It's not just the ego hit we get from it, but the busy keeps us distracted from ourselves and from our feelings. We stay busy because it's in the quiet, it's in the stillness, that feelings emerge. And as emotional eaters, we don't want to feel feelings. Like that's why we emotionally eat. We eat to distract from emotions. And busy is the same thing. So we push, push, push. So we feel exhausted and overwhelmed. And then we tend to feel like a victim. Like there's so much to do. It's all on us. Nobody's doing their fair share. But if you get honest, you might notice that you put yourself in that position. You said yes to all those obligations. You said yes to doing so much because nobody can do it as well as you. Okay? I'm going to challenge you to get honest about what that busy is about. If you feel like a victim, like it all rests on your shoulders, take a look at that. Is that the truth, or is that what you volunteered for? Because you get a payoff from being busy. You like the ego hit of people thinking you're amazing. You like it when they say, look at all you do. Just get honest about that. And also, are you busy because you're afraid of quiet? Do you keep the TV on all the time, or the radio on, or checking the news several times a day? And if so, is it really because you want to stay informed? Or is it in part because you like the distraction of the noise? All right. So I'm just going to just shake things up a little bit, just ask you some questions that if you ponder and you get honest with yourself, you might see that your busy is self-chosen. I'm a big proponent of meditation. Meditation is one of the most essential things you can do to heal from emotional eating, but it is not easy to meditate. All right. It's not easy for any human to sit down and be quiet. It's not just emotional eaters. It's hard to sit down and be quiet. And yet, it's in the silence that we meet ourselves. It's in the silence that we get to know what's going on and what makes us tick. But if you're afraid of silence, if you feel like I can't possibly sit down and do nothing, then that's your growth spot. That's where there's some opportunities to stretch and to heal. And another thing I want to bring up is the fact that when we put so much pressure on ourselves to perform, when we're perfectionists and want to do everything perfectly, hence we create more work for ourselves, more busy for ourselves, there's another hidden liability, which is that if we're not perfect, we have an excuse to eat. If we can't do it perfectly, if no matter how busy we are, we don't make the mark or we don't get it all done, we have a reason to beat ourselves up with food. And we do, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I failed. I didn't meet the deadline. It's like a built-in punishment, which becomes an excuse to binge. So watch out for the perfectionism that creates the busy, that creates the built-in excuse to binge, because we never make perfect. Now, here's how to shift this disease of busy. First of all, take time for yourself. It's called self-care. And stop judging yourself for taking that time. Self-care isn't lazy. It's fuel for sustainability. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is selfless. Why? Because if you don't take time for yourself, you're harried, you're busy, you're bitchy, you're stressed. People don't get the best version of you, do they? So stop telling yourself, oh, I can't possibly take time for me. It's selfish. Or I don't want to do that to my family. No, you owe it to your family to take time for yourself. So they get the rested, relaxed version of you, the more joyful version of you. You can't be joyful when you're stressed. So self-care isn't lazy. Self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is how you restore and rejuvenate. So you have better perspective on life. So you have more energy to give to your loved ones. It's how you show up as your best self. And if self-care feels like too much, like I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to take a walk, just know that small pauses, 10 minutes of sitting down, sit down, sit on the couch, small pauses give you more clarity and energy. Pull up on YouTube a 5-minute breathing exercise. Go for a walk around the block. 1 10-minute walk will change your state, change your attitude. It doesn't have to be a big half day at the spa, okay? Self-care can be just 10 minutes or 5 minutes, but make it intentional. And if you have to set an alarm on your phone to make it happen, to remind yourself to stop and breathe, do it. Do it. The next thing you can do is recognize the doing addiction, okay? The addiction to doing. Ask yourself, who am I trying to prove something to? Are you trying to people please with your busy? Are you trying to prove your worth with your busy? What am I trying to prove? Okay, just ask yourself that. You know, so much of our healing journey is about becoming aware, just awareness, waking up, noticing. Notice when you're overscheduled and get curious about what emotion is driving it. What emotion is driving you to feel like I must do this particular job or this particular activity now? What's driving you? And lastly, practice saying, this is enough for today. Like, I've done enough, or I am enough for today. Now, remember, you're not failing when you do less. You're not failing when you do less. You're giving yourself time to restore so you can be more effective in your life. Busy isn't effective. You drop balls, you miss things, you're not present. Okay, busy doesn't make us more effective. Busy just makes us busy. All right, so you're not failing when you do less or when you don't overschedule. Many years ago, my mentor, Roy, told me I'm a human being, not a human doing. And that stuck with me because I thought my worth came from how much I do. So remind yourself you're a human being, not a human doing. What's also really important is that we're a product of our environment. Who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with stressed out overdoers? Because if you are, you're going to be comparing yourself to them and thinking you need to be like them. So watch out for that and choose to be around people who do have space on their schedule for self-care and self-reflection. Be around people who reflect to you that your essence, who you are as a child of God, is enough. So be aware of the people you're hanging out with because it's easy to get hooked into that overdoing when you're around overdoers. Compare and despair, like, oh, Susie's doing so much. I need to do as much as her. Or Sally is, so accomplished. I need to have more accomplishments as well. I encourage you, after listening to this, to look at your schedule. What's one thing you can delegate to somebody else? One thing you can delegate so that you can have more time on your schedule. And take a look at your mornings. Can you start your mornings in a more peaceful way? Without distraction, without social media? Can you spend 10 to 15 minutes in the morning, maybe 20 minutes? Meditation, breathing, stretching, walking, reading scripture. What can you do to create a sense of calm and peace first thing in the morning, electronics free, so that you can tap in to your divine being, to that beautiful place inside of you that can nourish you and help you feel your worth? Spend some time in the morning tapping into that part of you that is precious and loved, and let that nourish you throughout the day. We turn to food when we are stressed out. We turn to food when we feel like we're not enough. We turn to food when we're overwhelmed. We have to turn to something else. And I believe we have an inexhaustible resource of spirit that's closer to us than our breath, that lives deep within us. But we have to be in stillness in order to tap into it. Stop running from yourself. Stop running from your higher self, that beautiful part of you that can nourish you and guide you and protect you. You may refer to it as God. You may refer to it as Holy Spirit. It may be divine spirit. My mentor called it sweet spirit. Tap into that sweet spirit within you that can replace the busy and make you 10 times more effective in your life with a whole lot less stress. That's what slowing down will do for you. I know it feels scary to slow down, but just know that there's an unexpected gift waiting for you when you do. I hope this is helpful. I love you so much. I'll see you on the next show. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.